A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Coles Brown Show, right here exclusively on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown. September the 23rd, 2023. This year is going fast, and as far as for the football season, it's almost, I guess, at a third of the way over with. But here's the guest menu for September the 23rd. Coach Vann Pettaway joins us very shortly for the entire show. And also, A.D. Willa Brown joins us for the entire show. Here's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. Southern University gets their first win of the season, defeating Alabama A&M 20-10. We're here exclusively from Coach Pettaway, who was in Baton Rouge to enjoy all the festivities. Also, the SWAC announces additional details regarding the building naming ceremony. Dr. James Frank, his family members will be in attendance. It's going to go on during the Magic City Classic or the day of the Magic City Classic. The naming, additional naming, Dr. James Frank. We'll give you a few more details about that. Southern's Joshua Griffin, the SWAC Specialist of the Week. 2 field goals, 2 extra points, and 4 kickoffs for an average of 64.5. And then last but not least, what's trending on the Coles Brown Show? Southern University women's soccer. Big victory over Nicholls State, 1-0. That's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. We're going to bring in all of the guys here on this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show. Good morning, Coach Vann Pettaway. Good morning, A.D. Willa Brown. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning, Carlos.
Good morning. Good morning.
How is everyone doing?
Well, I'm fine. I got a chance to recover from my trip to Baton Rouge. I enjoyed myself. I went down on Thursday and came out of there on Sunday. And I just want to send a shout out to the blue and gold Century Club. Man, they were fantastic. Felix and all the people, man, they had an awesome spread, and we ate and had fun, and we talked about football, we talked about basketball. So I had a great time visiting with Jaguar Nation. So I guess what they were doing, Carlos, they were prepping me. You know, they wanted me to feel good. They knew that later on I wouldn't be feeling so well. But it was a great experience. I really enjoy it. I always enjoy myself when I come to Baton Rouge. Even when I was coaching basketball, it's a nice city. You run into some nice people, and just to see the family atmosphere around the SWAC. And I was talking with the commissioner on Thursday night at the football game, and I was telling him about how the SWAC is such a family-oriented conference, and I hope it stays that way.
Yeah, and as I told you earlier, I'm sorry I wasn't able to visit with you. But look, we do have a picture, and Melanie, now would be a perfect time.
Oh man!
Look, that plate is clean, and even another person.
Yep. They had that fish in there, boy, and we had us a great time. Way to go. Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a great time, and we're going to talk about the football game, get your perspective on it. And look, let me just say this, and I kind of shared this before the show started. A win is a win. But, boy, one of the things we love about the Jaguar Nation, the ones that I talked to, they were not happy at all. It was almost that they lost the football game. Now, Willer, here's where you come in and say, what, a win?
A win is a win, Carlos.
Right.
I mean, bottom line is they're 1-2 now as opposed to 0-3. You got a conference win, and you and I talked by any means necessary mantra, and that's what it is. It's something to build on. Was it going to be perfect? No, it wasn't going to be perfect. The first 2 games wasn't perfect. So naturally the third game you couldn't expect it to be perfect, but you got the win. You know what it is that you need to correct for the coming week, and you get ready to go on and go 1-0 this week again. And as long as you're doing that on a weekly basis, as Coach Pettaway has always said, you got the goals still in front of you. Everything that you want to accomplish is still there. But you needed last week, like a poor doctor needs patience.
Yeah.
Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about that. If you had not gotten last week, then you could pretty much call out the caskets and the pallbearers and all that sort of thing, and start digging the grave. But you got it done, and you got something to build on, and I think it's good times ahead moving forward.
Well, we're going to get into the game and right the Jaguars now with an open week. I think usually, open weeks are kind of you talk to people and you get different perspectives on Wheeler and Coach Pettaway. When you're playing well, you don't want that off week. When you're not playing well, it comes at the right time. Well, Southern's kind of maybe in between. Depends on who you talk to.
Well, I think
I
it
think it
comes
comes
at
at
a
a
great
good
time for
time.
you all, though. I really
Mm-hmm.
think it comes at a great time because now some of the things that didn't go well in the game against Alabama A&M, they can work on that, and the things that they saw in the first two games that they want to work on that they need to get better at. This is a perfect opportunity for that during this bye week. So, the game itself, neither team played well. There were mistakes. We had Alabama A&M had an opportunity to tie the game up, and they fumbled on the goal line. England crossed well, he did not cross it, but he fumbled right at the goal line, and Southern was able to recover. So, and both teams did that because Southern did it in the first half. They ended the first half with a fumble at the goal line. So, I think most of the time the coaches are going to take that win, and they know that they got things that they have to work on, and a bye week is the perfect time to do that. In fact, during this bye week, you may even find out that Coach Dooley and his staff may come up with a couple other wrinkles that the opponents haven't seen because you got the time to do it.
Well,
I've always been one, Carlos. I like to keep playing. That's just me. As a player, I didn't want to buy. As a coach, I didn't really want the bye week. As an administrator, you see the advantages of it a little bit better. Especially gives you a time to pause a little bit and kind of regroup on some things, kind of evaluate some things, see what you can do better, and logistically and things of that nature. Coach Dooley, I know if he's got a couple kids nicked up, that sort of thing, gives them a chance to kind of rest and, get their bearings about them, that sort of thing. So, I mean, there are advantages and disadvantages to each one. If you're playing very well, you don't want anything to disrupt that, that's going on. But, if you're up and down like Southern's been, it can be a good thing to, to have that bye week. And as Coach Pettaway is saying, kind of regroup on some things, work on some things, maybe, add a few new wrinkles here and there, that sort of thing. And, see what you have the following week.
Right.
Boy, and I'm gonna get into some specifics, things that need to improve. But let me do this. I had this note before the show. Um, the passing of the mother of one of our top fans, Jamar Scott, on the passing of his mother, Mary Scott, a former J setter. And boy, she was a spicy lady. I could tell she was a former J setter. Our sympathies to Sonia and Jamar Scott, and of course Charles Edmonds. You don't see him; he's attending the funeral today. But one of our top fans, the passing of his mother, Mary Scott, a former Jay Setter. Once again, sympathies to Sonia and Jamar Scott. The services are going on as we speak. Southern 20-10 over Alabama A&M in front of 14,968. Boy,
I think they stretched that. I think they stretched that now. I really think they stretched that number. That must be tickets sold, but I don't think 14,000
actual attendance.
Right. I don't think 14,000 people were there.
Yeah, because I got a text message from a person who said they just drove right up on the campus. Now, you could compare and contrast to the week before with Jackson State. You couldn't move around, almost 30,000 over capacity. I guess they took that loss to heart,
Right. And see,
which harsh
Carlos,
rivalry.
I even told my people, I said, hey, listen, let's don't mess around now. I said, every time I've gone to Southern, you had trouble crossing the bridge. I said, so we need to get out, make sure that we out early enough. And see, during my trip, I accomplished everything I wanted with the exception. I did not get the chance to go by to see Coach Johnson and his basketball team because I had to go and pick up my credentials. I didn't get the credentials that Friday like I thought I was. So I had to go do that Saturday morning. And so when I told my people that was traveling, I said, listen, Southern has a large following. That campus was going to be packed. We got to go early so we can get across the bridge. And then lo and behold, we went straight across the bridge. And I knew then, I said, oh, something's not right. So it was you could tell that that game didn't draw the interest that normally A&M and Southern draws, because every time I've been there, they've had a sellout or close to a sellout, except this last time. And then getting back to that bye week, I'm gonna tell you something that you because I was there in person. Your offensive lineman, you had two kids that were hobbling that stayed on that field to finish the game out. So the bye week helps them because you could see that the numbers were down on that offensive line. And I just knew, I told the people in the press box sitting next to me, I said, look, we got a shot because their linemen are injured. I said, they got people on the defensive line that are hobbling. They got people on the offensive line that are hobbling. I said, we need to take advantage of that. But unfortunately, A&M was never able to do that. So the bye week comes at a great time for Southern to get healthy. And I think once they're healthy, Coach Dooley will be able to come up with a plan to finish out the season.
Well, and Carlos, 14 and some change still ain't bad. 14,000 and some change still ain't bad. May not be what you guys are accustomed to, that sort of thing. Right. But you look at the fact that you got the stadium on campus, so you're not renting a city stadium like they do at Jackson State, that sort of thing. You know, you don't have all those ancillary things that you would have to worry about, you know, if you were playing in a city stadium, that sort of thing. So, you know, your cash or your dollars are more so right there, homegrown dollars, as opposed to having to worry about, you know, the different things of, you know, having an outside entity pretty much run your entire stadium business, that sort of thing. So, you know, the expenses that I had at Jackson State would probably be pale in comparison to the expenses that Coach Banks have at Southern, with him having a stadium right there on campus.
Interesting point. And then, you know, if you kind of look in the crystal ball, if Southern would have won the week before against Jackson State,
right, the interest would have been there.
Yeah, you can bet it. You can bet that it would have been more. And if they were 2-0 coming into the game, then the interest picks up even more. With that being said, paid, well, we'll just say the attendance 14,968. Southern University, as Coach Pettaway kind of put it, Southern fumbled on the goal line. Alabama A&M fumbled on the goal line. Southern scored first. I could put that with what's trending. Every game that they've played this season, they've scored first. And then it just seems to be that then they struggle afterwards. But some of the numbers, 20-10, Southern now 1-2 overall, and in conference play, they're 1-0. But for Southern University, just some of the important numbers for you. I want just stat you to death, but net yards rushing for Alabama A&M -17.
Right.
Southern University 62. Net yards passing Alabama A&M 228, Southern 225. Total offense, Southern 287 on 61 plays. Alabama A&M ran 77 plays. Wow, for 211. And then Harold Blood, 14 of 24, 202. But if we go back to just some specific numbers that I put down, scoring offense, and now somebody help me out. Help me out, somebody. Southern is ninth after 3 games. Unacceptable, in my humble opinion. Does that mean they're struggling? Hell yes. 14.7 points a game. Total offense, they're 8th in the conference. There's 12 teams. Unimaginable. Unacceptable. 298. Rushing, and I circled this one, Wheeler. Your former offensive lineman, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Coach Pettaway said they had a couple of linemen hobbling. But even after game 1 this season, just putrid numbers. Rushing, they're 12th in the conference. They're dead last. 61 yards a game. Now, on the brighter side, I guess that's the ugly side. Scoring defense, they're second, 17 points a game. Total defense, they're third in the conference, 294. Rushing defense, they're only giving up 96 yards. They're second in the conference, third overall. Defensively, what I think they need to work on, in my opinion, just getting off the field on third down and forcing more turnovers. Wheeler, former offensive lineman, not getting it done. Not getting it done at all. And then if you think about last year, I think Southern finished in the top 4 in rushing. So something is not right. What's going on?
And it might be something philosophically that's going on. Is Coach Dooley really putting a lot of emphasis on running the ball? We all know you got to run the ball to be successful, la da da, so forth and so on. Is that really his forte? A lot of these young guys now, and I know Maynard's probably the same way. They want to toss that ball all over creation, that sort of thing, and they pretty much use the run as a sidebar. And a lot of these newfangled, I call them newfangled offenses, pretty much predicated around, throwing the ball first and running the ball second, that sort of thing. Whereas when I was coming up, you really had to have a strong run game to survive. It was about having the 1,000-yard rusher and, all the things that go with that. So, I mean, it's a new day now, Carlos. So, while I hear the stats, after game, just after 3 games, I don't know that I put a whole lot of stock in those stats right now, outside of maybe, percentages here and there, that sort of thing. What's not happening, third down percentage, things of that nature. But I mean, it's all about the philosophy of the head coach. And it sounds like Dooley wants to score a lot of points and throw that thing around, that sort of thing. And so seems like that's the kind of coach he was at Prairie View. And I guess people want to see it wide open. But old school guys like yourself and myself definitely. I mean, I like to bump and grind, and let's get it up front, and let's push it up and down the field.
What?
So
Wait a
it's a
minute.
catch-22, Carlos.
Wait a minute, Will. Bump and grind. I get to about R. Kelly there. But I'm more, and Coach Pettaway, I've stated, I'm more of the guy now, a little bit of old school, like Wheeler said, a little bit of new school. In other words, what am I saying? Balance.
Balance. Yeah, you got to have balance.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's what I look at. And of course, we don't see this so far. And even if you compare and contrast to last year at this time, they were running the ball much better. Now, they did lose a Dallas Black, the center, and someone else that doesn't Troy, there you go. They don't stick with the run long enough to establish the run. But then also Troy too. Let's see what everybody thinks about this. We'll have a good old-fashioned discussion this morning. When you look at it, a lot of times because they're not able to run the football, then they get into the down and distance. They
Right.
behind the chains a lot.
Right.
And I always look at first down. To me, being productive on first down, Wheeler, is 3 to 5 yards. If you can get that on first down, it just opens up everything else for you. But from what I've seen, just me from a non-coaching perspective, they get behind the chains, and now the defenses can pin their ears back, and they're basically saying, you can't run the football. We're going to make you beat us throwing it. Can your quarterback get it done?
And see,
like
like
you said,
last week,
Carlos, first down.
one of the things.
Go ahead, Coach. Go
Oh,
ahead.
wait a minute.
One of
Somebody
the
says,
things that
wait a
the
minute. Somebody
fans were
says
talking
R.
about.
Kelly offense.
Yeah. One of the things that the fans were talking about before the game was about the Russian attack, and some of them even said we need to get the ball to Quarles more. Well, in that game, Garrett Quarles had 19 attempts. They gave him the ball 19 different times. But you got to understand this: you knew those kids from Alabama A&M were going to be keying on Quarles. You know they didn't want him to beat him. Now he ended up scoring a touchdown against them. So the thought was there. But when I saw those offensive linemen hobble, I knew that we still had a chance to stay in the game because they were hurt. Those kids, they were playing on hard, and we still couldn't take. When I say we, I'm talking about Alabama and them couldn't take advantage of that. So I think Coach Dooley wants to run the football. That offensive line has to get healthy. They gotta be better. And I know he knows that if he can run the football, it'll open up the passing game. Blood didn't have
like you said, Carlos, down and distance.
Right.
Down and distance says a lot. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about that part. You know, and first down, like you said, is the key. You know, but 9 times out of 10, your average football coach is going to run it on first down. And if they don't get 4 yards on first down, then quite naturally you're looking to pass it on second down. And if you pass it on second down, you're going to pass it on third down. You know, but bottom line being, almost everybody in the house knows that first down you're probably going to run it. Probably going to run it on first down. Okay, so consequently, he's probably looking to pass it on first down. And 9 times out of 10, if the pass is incomplete on first down, you are almost forced to throw it on second and third.
Yeah.
So I think the numbers are dictating whatever it is. The numbers are dictating. But like you said, you got to find a way to establish a good, strong running game. There's no doubt about that, and you got to do some things to open that up. So I mean. That's a quandary that Coach Dooley gotta find an answer to at some point in time.
And I like what Johnny said on in the chat room. Hopefully it'll come back up. But utilizing intermediate routes, they're open. The tight end, boy, I mean, you got a talented room. You got a talented running back room. It'll be different to me. This is just my opinion. If you didn't have the talent there, I would think it's an above average running back room, above average wide receiver room. But the O-line play, even before the injuries, let's just call it the way it is. They have struggled this year. The numbers bear it out. And I Wheeler, you say only after 3 games. It's a little bit early. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Well, I'm gonna push back on that. It's not. It's still not too early. After 3 games, what we can say is, how about this? We see a trend.
Yeah.
That they have underachieved on the offensive line. Now we'll put an asterisk. We'll put an asterisk, Coach Pettaway. That last week, and boy, I'm trying to think of his name. I saw him hobble off a couple of times. Matter of fact, I think he was hurt in the Jackson State game. So to be out there, we applaud his mentality, that toughness. But as we see in the chat room, everybody join in. They are disappointed in offensive line play. And guys, the meat and potatoes of a football team is that O-line and D-line.
There's no doubt about that.
Now, and we're specifically talking about the offensive line. They've got to improve. And I've seen them play a lot of people, and maybe that experience will help, the next 3, 4 to 5 games. But the major problem right now that has to be corrected, and I don't know if it can be done in one game, Coach Pettaway, but that run game, that is unacceptable. 61 yards a game. Will, I don't care if it's 3 games or 2. It's not good. That is not
Well, I'm
good.
gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you, Carlos, up front. You don't want to be running kids in and out. Those guys up front got to establish something up in there, and you don't do it a play here, a play there, that sort of thing. You do it with that group, that cohesive group. That have worked together in practice, that have worked together during the game. Those 5 guys, maybe 6. That know what to do, that have gelled, have meshed together. I know the man's next to me steps and his habits and vice versa. Where you can shift running backs and throw different wide receivers in the game and mix and match with quarterbacks and things of that nature. You can do that with all those positions. But up on the defensive line, you can do it also. But up front on the offensive line, that is the most cohesive unit that you have out there. I need to know that man next to me, like he's my brother, my close friend, that sort of thing. And I look back on my time at A&T. I had a guy next to me. We played together for 3 years. I started as a freshman. He was a sophomore when I came in. He played left guard. I played left tackle, and he started for 3 years. Our center was a sophomore when I came in, and he started there at that position for 3 years. So that whole left side of that line, we had that cohesive unit. It wasn't going in and out, back and forth, and all that sort of thing and stuff. I mean, I don't think you mix and match up front, Carlos. You find that group, and you keep it going from there.
Right.
So,
and then just like you say, Wheeler, and I think the problem is because those kids are injured, that means that they're not able to be together in practice. So that means that their first time being together in a lot of cases is during the game. And so they don't have the rhythm that they would have if those same guys started preseason camp together and played all 3 of these games together. They got to do that to just to have some cohesiveness. They got to learn each other, and if they're not practicing together, you can't do it. So when that injury bug hits you on that offensive line, you're gonna be in a situation like where you all are right now.
well, don't shoot the messenger. But I know historically under Coach Richardson, let me put it this way: they would spell the O lineman Wheeler, for a series, But what you're saying is no, unless you're about to pass out, you stay in
Exactly.
that game.
Exactly.
Oh, oh,
And offensive
well,
line, Carlos,
you're
is
truly
not
old
something that
school.
is not something that you can take a few days off and then come back like you've never left. That doesn't happen up front. I don't care what anybody says. If you're injured and you're out of practice Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you can't expect to just show up on Thursday or show up on Friday, put the pads on, and it's like you ain't missed no time. It ain't like that up front. It's just not. You gotta bump it. You gotta get those knocks in on a daily basis, that sort of thing, and that's just the nature of the position. For me, I was always, it just seemed like it kind of threw me off rhythm. If I wasn't out there knocking on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I wasn't really expecting to just show up at practice on Thursday because we all know you don't do anything hardly on Friday. But I had to depend on getting that work in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in order to get myself ready for Saturday. And most linemen feel the same way. We're not ducking contact. We want that contact on a daily basis. So that's just the way it is. Or excuse me, just the way it used to be. Let me put it like that.
Wow. I understand. Man, good conversation going on in the chat room. You see me looking off. Um, that's I'm looking at the conversation. Oh boy. in the chat room. Keep it going. Here's Joseph. I agree with Coach Pettaway. Truth be told, the Jags probably have 2 O-linemen that are injured who would likely be starting. That could make a huge difference. Yeah, I don't want to say I disagree, but I know I looked at the depth chart and coming in, and again, I know what they like to do. They like to spell that O-line, even in the past, a series. And I understand what you're saying, Willer. I understand what you're saying, Coach Pettaway. But I'll still stick by that that they have underachieved. Now, the reasons why, 2 things could be right at the same time. What we're specifically talking about with the offensive linemen, but I think we're all in agreement that they have achieved.
But but even at that, those kids out there paying the price. The fans, they could be unhappy with the coaching staff, but they still need to recognize that those kids need some love. They still need to show love to those players. I was on the side over there where they did the walk, the Jaguar walk. The kids looked great getting off the bus, and that the fans, some of the fans that were there, they were there to greet them. But thing is, we as coaches, we can take the blame, but don't take it out on the kids, man. You gotta stay out there and support those athletes because they're doing it for your university, and they didn't just start this now. Them kids have been working for quite some time to even be on the field, injured or not. They're on the field and they're representing your school. So the alumni and fans, don't get it twisted. You can be mad at the coaches, but you still got to support those kids.
Yeah,
I think that's very important.
Right, good point. And I call it, constructive criticism, and you call it down the middle the way you see it. You're unhappy, but at the end of the day, you still support your university and your team until otherwise. Now you're never gonna see me on here or hear me on here or see me on here talking about firing somebody. I'm not gonna publicly say that. And speaking of that, I think I did get something wrong. I said a 3-year contract. Coach Dooley has a 4-year. Somebody in the chat room said it correctly. He has a 4-year contract guaranteed, but with an option for the 5th year. So I want to make that clear. I was wrong on that. We talked about constructive criticism. And ultimately, it falls back on the coaches. If you're in the stands and sometimes you hear some nasty things, and I understand emotion plays a big part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like after a tough loss, and when you lose, it hurts. But especially when you lose to one of your heated rivals, Jackson State. And so, it takes people a while to get over that. The fan part of me, Coach Pettaway and Wheeler, it takes me a while to get over it. Now, I did better this year. But at the end of the day, yeah, you must support your university and the coaches.
Well, Carlos, I think Coach Pettaway said this in a previous show. If you as a coach, if you are coaching by what the fans are saying, that sort of thing, you're not gonna have a job for long. Right. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about that. So we talk about not criticizing the kids, from the fan point of view, that sort of thing. I would say the same thing goes towards not criticizing the coaches. Tell me what your expertise is, Miss Joe fan or Mr. Joe fan or what have you, in terms of what I should be doing on 3rd and 10 or in a particular situation, that sort of thing. Are you at practice every day watching my kids play and practice and go through what they're going through? Are you out there on a regular basis, or are you just critiquing me based off of what you see on Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening? So from a coaching point of view, if you're listening to that noise, if you're even giving that noise the time of day, you're not going to be employed long at all, because chances are you're going to do something in your program to appease a fan, okay, who 9 times out of 10 ain't on a donor list anyway. And you just gonna do something that you should not do based off of noise that you heard. So coaches got to put those earphones in or those earplugs in also, and got to stay on the straight and narrow. Believe in who you are. Believe in what it is that you're doing. Let's grind this thing
Mhm.
out. Let's get it done. Nobody spends more time in the film room and working on their craft than these coaches do. Nobody. Not Joe Fan, not Miss Fan, or whomever else is out there. Nobody spends time becoming and being a better coach than the coaches themselves. Now granted, if you have an idea that you think, might work or something like that, you want to bounce it off of somebody, I mean, so be it. But, if a coach doesn't like what you're saying or doesn't take what you're saying kindly, I mean, Carlos, that's a fine line you're walking there.
Well,
I mean, it's not fine
mhm,
line you're walking, but a fine line that somebody is walking in terms
mhm.
of, trying to be, critique and tell us we need to pass more on first down or, that sort of thing. So, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
Just kind of
well,
take those things with a grain of salt, Carlos. That's just me.
well. I understand, and this is a type of show where the fans can voice their
Exactly, which is a
yeah,
Yeah.
good
that,
thing.
that
Which is a
yeah,
good thing. It's a good forum for them to be able to do so. Definitely.
right. All I ask is, and I think they've done a good job of it. Be
Mm-hmm.
professional. Don't don't get personal. Now, I've heard some personal stuff, but I wouldn't dare put that on the show because that goes for me too. I got to be a professional at all this, and I've been doing it 20 plus years. About 5 in this type of format with video streaming. But we're always going to be classy here. We
Mm-hmm.
we're always going to be classy here. But you're talking about expectations. Um, Southern fans' expectations are always high every year,
Mm-hmm.
like other teams, and
Mm-hmm.
they're disappointed. But you still got 8 games to go. We talked about still supporting
Yep.
and being a good fan. We've also talked about constructive criticism, which is
Mm-hmm.
good. I get it all the time. Trust me, as I look off in this household, I get constructive criticism all the time. And then sometimes you don't like it, but guess what? If it makes you better, makes you stronger, then you do it, and
Yeah,
you
chatter
accept
and
it.
noise come with the job. Chatter and
Yeah.
noise come with the job. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. Whenever we choose to be in this arena, whether it be from an athletic administrative point of view, whether it be from a coaching point of view, or what have it, we know these things. We know
And,
that comes with the job. But we
and-
also know
mhm,
that we as individuals have to internalize these things and keep these things in its proper
mhm.
perspective. If we allow those things to take over us as professionals, then we're not going to be in the profession for long. And that's either way it goes, no doubt.
Look, I'm going to bring up this perspective. Oh boy, I wish Charles was here, Charles Edmond. Um, because yeah, you're talking about internalizing things, and I've done that in my personal life, and what that can do, that can make you not feel well. Blood pressure goes up because you
Mm-hmm.
take things in. Sometimes you have to blow it off. Coach Banks in the interview said he doesn't pay attention to social media. I don't think a lot of the coaches they don't pay attention to social media. But again, this is a format where fans can voice their pleasure
Mm-hmm.
and displeasure. With that being said, if we go back to last year, I don't know if you remember this, Coach Pettaway, but Alcorn Knights, we're going to talk about you for a second. Coach McNair basically stopped doing his show. And you notice he's not doing a radio show this year. Source, Charles Edmond, because last year, and I was listening when he said basically, I'm doing it right now, but this will be the last show because he got tired of his players coming to him. Now, We just talked about coaches don't, listen to the noise. They don't listen to social media, right? But guess who? Guess who does? The
The kids,
players do.
Yes,
right?
they do. Yes,
And
they do.
I heard him say he's got other things to be thinking about. Game field, X's and O's, and every week players coming here telling him that the fans saying y'all sorry, you're not doing well, and so he said, guess what? I'm not doing this show, and he's not doing it this year. And Coach McNair, as Charles brings up often, 6 divisional titles. But what have you done for me lately? So
Right.
I said all of that to say constructive criticism. Let's be balanced in our criticism. We play when things are going well, we say that. When they're not, we say that. But at the end of the day, you find out a person, their character, when things are not going well, how tough do you stand? EA says in the SU case, the scrutiny is heightened when it's obvious to the casual observer that the coach made a bonehead decision all last year with the quarterback choice. So yelling now becomes screaming and anger. One of the things that you hear, stubborn. I hear that a lot. You know who they're talking about? They're talking about Coach Dooley. I love him to death. His expression never changes. If it's going good, he looks the same. If it's going bad, it looks the same. Edwin says fans start calling in week to week complaining about coaches. So Fred, a traditional Mississippi gentleman, ended it because he saw it as counterproductive to his team. Good point, Edwin.
Yeah,
And
and
no matter
you
how
have to
much,
do that. He's protecting his players, and
Mhm.
see, Carlos, a guy like me, when I was coaching, when people say about social media, I say, what about social? I'm not on social media. So I never knew what they were saying on social media, but my kids did. And luckily for me, they weren't really on the kids at any point. And see that's troubling to those kids because social media now, mental health is such a big issue now. And that's why the fans have to be careful. You don't want to cause a player to go off the deep end because of your comments, your criticism. So we have to be careful with that. But I'm old school, so I was never into the social media. If it wasn't on the television or printed in that paper, it went past me. I didn't. If I didn't read it or didn't hear it or see it, that was it. There was no social media for me. I'm still not on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of the kids today, they do it all. They get it in
Mhm.
elementary school, so they know how to access social media. So no matter where we are, we have to be conscious of take a chill pill, as they used to say, and don't criticize these kids, man, because it's big now. Mental health is a big issue right now, all
And
across this.
Carlos, that's the hardest part of our jobs
Mm-hmm.
as administrators, as people on the outside looking in, as coaches, because as we all are saying, they're kids.
Right.
Okay, I mean, we know that they're 19, 20, 21, in some cases 22, maybe 23 years old, but they're still kids. They're kids, Carlos. As grown as they think they are, and as grown as we may want them to be, they're still kids. And we have to go out of our way to protect those kids as much as we can. So the hardest job that our coaches have, that our administrators have, is probably not really X's and O's, as Coach Pettaway was saying. It's trying to limit and downplay the noise that they're getting because of social media, because of Facebook, because of Instagram and X and Meta and Beta and Zeta and all these other things that are out there. It's trying to control their outlook in terms of them and what they see, from that arena. It's not getting them to run a 23 dive or 25 reverse or what have you, or the fast break in basketball or what have you. That's the easy part. The hard part is keeping that outside chatter from
Hmm.
permeating from permeating your kids' mindset, to where now they're out there playing for something that they saw on Instagram,
Well,
or they're repeating something. The
mhm.
coach is stubborn.
Well.
So coach should have changed quarterbacks 5 games
Mhm.
ago. A lot of times they're hearing that outside, okay, and then inadvertently they bringing it into the room.
Right.
Not
And
intentionally.
but Willa, look at it this way. What if I'm that quarterback that they're talking about? They're telling Dooley he should be playing me. I'm hearing that. Or they're talking about the other quarterback. He's hearing that. He's hearing that from
Exactly.
the fans that they don't. Now he's saying that the fans don't like me. They think coach should bench me. So that's affected that kid. And when he does get
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to play, that kid's his mind is all over the
That's
place.
right. That's
And
right.
I promise you, this is part of it that we don't understand. Yes, you can talk about the coaches, but when you're being specific, you still talking about those kids. You're telling
Mm-hmm.
him he shouldn't be playing this quarterback. What is that kid thinking about you and what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
How is he accepting that? How is he going
Mm-hmm.
to prepare himself to be ready to play when he thinks that the Jag Nation doesn't like him or doesn't want
Mm-hmm.
him? And when you do need the kid because of
Mhm.
an injury or whatever, that kid's not going to be mentally there
Mm-hmm.
because he's already heard all that outside noise and all the things that
Mm-hmm.
you said about him. And
Is
his
Mm-hmm.
there?
mind, if those kids are on social
Mhm.
media, so they're going to get it. They're going to hear it. And they're going to talk amongst themselves. And that's how you tell a team up. That's how you tell a program up. So we
Mm-hmm.
have
Well,
to be, we have to be
mhm.
careful with that, man.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Be careful. Couple things. EA with a point, guys. Please know that coaches are on social media. You have to be able to recruit players so they're not being forthcoming if they say they aren't. Well, I know like certain celebrities, and I don't know if I could put coaches into this category, but like on X or Twitter, when you send them a direct message or a message, they respond. But I know the celebrities have someone who runs their social media. But to EA's point, I know I've seen Coach Willie Simmons. He's on social media. But I guess we should say this. Maybe we say constructive criticism, but maybe controlled criticism. Maybe I'm just saying. Maybe we could switch those words out. And then also, uh, of course, I'm on social media. I'm no coach. I'm no celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's like with everything. There's good and bad
Right.
Mm-hmm.
in things, and it's the way you utilize it. Um,
And
social
I hope,
media.
Carlos, I hope we're not portraying social media as a bad thing. That's
Right. It's
not
not.
my
Yeah.
intent, and I know
No.
that's not Coach Pettaway's
No.
intent at all. That's not, and I
Mhm,
want your fans out there and people that are on the podcast, what have you, to understand that we're not
mhm,
saying that all social media is a bad thing. We're saying what makes it bad is
mhm,
when we allow ourselves to be governed by what's being said. That's
mhm,
the bad part. When we can't keep these things in perspective, when we can't
mhm.
follow through and go through with whatever our game plan was without checking Instagram to see if it's okay with fan Joe Blow, that sort of thing. When we are doing those kinds of things, Carlos, that's when we get ourselves in trouble. So for those coaches who are able to juggle both and do that, more power to them.
Mhm,
Some coaches decide not to, like Coach McNair. Some coaches decide not to get on there at all, because they don't want to have to go through that headache at all. More power to them. So whatever floats your boat, I guess is what I'm saying. Feel
mhm.
free to do so, but don't want people to think that we are proponents of, we don't want social media, you need to get rid of it, that sort of
Right,
thing. It all has
right.
its good points. It all has its bad points. When we allow ourselves to be governed by that, to the point where we stop thinking about the things that got us where we are, to the point where we discard the teachings that we went through in terms of learning our craft, that sort of thing. When we discard those things based off of what somebody has said on social media, then we're not, we're losing it somehow. And so the onus is on us as individuals, us on the outside looking in, to make sure that we govern ourselves accordingly, that we take everything that's being said out there with a grain of salt, that we are firm and fast in our convictions of who we are, what we do, what we're about, what we bring to the table, that sort of thing. I'm not going to tell somebody who has never coached a quarterback in their life that I'm going to take your advice and change quarterbacks simply because you said he hadn't been playing well the last 3 games. I mean, I got a certain matrix that I'm looking for in terms of what I'm looking at, that sort of thing. I'm grading this kid based off of what I see, and obviously right now, Blood or whoever this kid is that, everybody seems to be obsessed with, he's meeting the qualifications that Coach Dooley has in terms of what he's looking for in his starting quarterback. And I'm sure that if there comes a time when he stops meeting those requirements, then Coach Dooley will be the coach that he is. He'll go on and change quarterbacks to do whatever he needs to do based off of what he's seen and his metrics and the way that he's evaluating things, but not based off of somebody else's evaluation, even though somebody will probably say, well, he should have saw that 10 games ago, or he should have saw that 5 games ago, But I mean, I'm sure, all these coaches have, things that they go by in terms of evaluating these kids, that sort of thing. And they put these kids out there based off of, those particular dynamics and, not because they quote unquote like a kid or, this kid has done this or this kid has done that. And so I guess we all got to keep it in perspective, Carlos. I guess is what I'm saying.
Right, because social media, I noticed that somebody said that the coaches are on and they use it as recruiting. Well, it can also negatively impact recruiting too, because if I was a parent and I saw where the Jag Nation was always bashing the coaches and the players, I would want my son in that kind of environment. So you got to be careful with that now. So it goes both ways. Yeah, being on social media helps in recruiting. It can also impact it negatively if you're being negative all the time. So that has to come into play now.
Yeah, and that's what I like about doing this show and having you guys on. You get different perspectives, and that's good in the discussion. As Dr. Cavill just said, fascinating dialogue. It is, and because at some of the larger schools, they actually have hired people
for social media
to monitor social media.
Right. They had to, Carlos. They had to, because you had athletes that were doing things on social media that would impact them even when they left school. Like student athletes were losing jobs because of them doing like partying in public or on social media. So they had to, because they said the schools are responsible for, the athletic departments are responsible for making sure that the kids are doing things the right way. So and a lot of the FBS schools, they got people in their department that's their job to look at all social media pages to make sure the athletes are not embarrassing themselves and the university.
And this is totally off topic, Carlos. This is totally off topic. But I can recall probably maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, somebody coming up to me with a TikTok video of I guess football players at a party, that sort of thing. And they all had red plastic cups in their hands. Okay, and it said, Mr. Brown, you know what that means for the red cup at a party? That means you're drinking alcohol. And I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I
Hold
was
on now.
completely
I got
dumbfounded.
water in mine.
They
I
said
didn't know. I didn't know that. I didn't know
at,
red
at
cup
most
means
parties,
alcohol.
In my
at
cup,
most
excuse me.
parties, yeah, at most
Wow.
parties,
Well,
you know, that is the sign that your folk are drinking alcohol, and I didn't know that, you know.
I
So I
didn't
mean,
know.
there were a lot of things I've been behind on, and you know, trying to catch up on that sort of thing and stuff, and you know, I was like, geez, come on, that red cup, please,
Yeah.
but
you
but
know, but.
but you know what's interesting? Um, you made the point because when your playing day's over, um, and my best friend told me this, like when you apply for jobs, now they look at even
Right.
those
Yep.
things that you
Hmm.
said. So be careful. Something that could be said or done could come back and rear its head 4 or 5 years
Hmm.
later. But but
Hmm.
but back to my point, yeah. At the bigger schools, they have someone to monitor, and they report back to the head coach. And so as we kind of wrap up this part, yeah, it's good and bad. It's what you make out of it. If you do good things with social media, it can be helpful. You know, you look at as far as recruiting and huddle, looking at the videos. I had to cut myself back on looking at so much video, thinking that I'm an expert in evaluating talent. But that's a good thing. Football, basketball, all. So some of the good things of social media, like when a big victory happens, you know, instantly with one click, you can send it to 5 or 6 different platforms.
Hmm.
That's a good thing. But all of this came about. This discussion is um, on this show. We'll have control slash constructive criticism. And Willa, you said something a few minutes ago. Ultimately, yeah, the coaches they can't listen to that because at the end
Hmm.
of the day, the AD is not going to evaluate on how you respond to somebody on social media.
Hmm.
They're going to evaluate on wins and losses and
Hmm.
some other things, student, achievement, graduation rates, um,
Hmm.
your conduct off the
Yep.
court,
Yep.
off the field, no matter what sport. So those are several things. And my best friend often tells me, and we talk all the time. I'm not going to come on your show. I'm not going to come in the chat room and personally attack or tell somebody they're doing a horrible job. I'll just say that to you. Talk about me, and, and so that's the way you look at it. But
Carlos, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you, Carlos. I've been in a football meeting room. I won't say what school, okay, because I don't want to embarrass anybody or anything like that. But I've been in a football meeting room. You know, and those of you that've been in football meeting rooms, you know how coaches have the kids' names and stuff on the board, the depth chart, and all that sort of thing and stuff. And I've sat in a coaches meeting, football coaches meeting, and just out of the clear blue, asked the offensive line coach about kid that wears number 75 or what have you. You know, tell me about that kid. You know, tell me his major, tell me his GPA, you know, tell me where it's from. You know, just tell me about that kid. You know, because my feeling, Carlos, is that if you as a position coach, and I'm being facetious with this, can't tell me what color underwear a kid's wearing on a particular day. Okay. Are you really and truly in the life of that particular coach, of that particular kid? You should be able to tell me everything about the kids that you're coaching. You know, are they going to class? Or, you know, what's the academic progress, that sort of thing. You as a position coach, okay, are responsible for that. You know, so I mean, the coaches know. You know, if I come into a coaches meeting, you know, their eyes pop up. That Mr. Brown's going to ask a crazy question in here. It's just a matter of time. He gonna pull somebody somewhere. You know, and he gonna ask about something. You know,
mm-hmm,
but I just think it's imperative. You know, we're not asking a lot of our coaches, but the
mm-hmm,
kids that you are coaching, your position kids, You should know everything about them academically, the whole 9 yards. It should not be a question that I should ask about a particular kid that you're coaching on a daily basis that you should not be able to come up with an answer for or an answer to, that sort of thing. And I just believe
Mhm.
that. So that's just a
And
little sidebar there.
I appreciate it. See, that's what I love about you guys. And two quick points. Eddie Robinson, God rest his soul. You, I'm willing to bet he knew everything from the
Mm-hmm.
stories I hear about, ringing the bell in the halls, Coach Pettaway coming to make sure you go to class.
Mm-hmm.
Almost, I heard a story. He almost knew if you had a bad thought in your head, he could read it. But that is interesting. Back to social media. A good thing about social media, remember we were talking about good and bad. I did go on Twitter and Facebook, and I saw, and the Feel Good Award of the day, and I really mean this. Southern University whole entire football staff. Now, see, we probably should be talking about that as well. Went to Our Lady of the Lake Hospital in Baton Rouge. The Grambling State player that broke his neck and
Mm-hmm.
broke his neck. We'll leave it at that. They came and visited with him at Southern University Law Center, and they came and presented him with some goodies.
That's good.
That came out on social media, and
Mm-hmm. I
and
saw
also
that.
the picture of Coach Pettaway enjoying himself
That's awesome.
at the Kermit. See, so the good and the bad, and that's all we're saying in this perspective with social media, and also with the kids and your criticism and what have you. Don't have it where it's so personal. Another example, the Colorado State and the Colorado football game.
Oh yeah.
The kid that hit Travis Hunter, he's getting
Death
death
threat.
threats.
Yeah.
That's when it's gone too far. Look,
Definitely.
I hate losing to Jackson State. I'd say, look, I'm going to Tibet. I'm going to become a monk. I'm going to go on a hunger strike, shave my eyebrows. But at the end of the day, it's a game that we enjoy talking about and watching, but you can't go too far. You
No.
can't go too
No.
far.
And Carlos, was that a late hit? Yes, it was. There's no doubt
Mhm.
about that. But it's a hit that if you are a football player, okay, it's pretty much instinctive. You know that as long as people flying around, that sort of thing. I always say you got to keep your eyes on your prize. You know that. If the bang bang football play, I don't think he was out to intentionally damage that kid or anything like that. But when you're in the game, you're in another world, Carlos. You play this game, you know it. I mean, you throwing the body around, that sort of thing, and
Mhm.
so I mean, for the kid to receive death threats and all that,
Yeah.
come on now, are you
N-
kidding me?
Well, I mean, I'm just reporting it happened. And guess what? Sometimes it's not because I saw the play live when it happened. And I think it's because it's a collision sport and the hormones are raging. Think back, folks. After you hit him, yeah, the hit, but it was more what happened afterwards. I saw him give like a little look, bet you won't come trying to catch a pass on me the next time.
Right.
So I'm just saying maybe that's what, but it's a violent
Well,
sport. It's a
Carlos, what
collision
kind
sport.
of look? What kind of look?
Oh, I would have gave him the same look.
What
Yeah.
what kind what kind of look, idealistically or realistically, would
It's
you
his
have
body.
given at that time? I mean, to him, it was a good hit. Yeah, I rocked you. Yeah, don't bring it over here
Mhm.
no more. Yeah, and if you come back over here again, I'm gonna give you some more. Yeah, that's football. That's
Yeah.
just football.
Another point.
If he'd have bent
Well, no,
over and dusted his shoulder pads off and all that sort of thing and stuff, Carlos, or picked
wait,
the boy up or
wait a
took his
minute, Wheeler.
helmet off and stopped wiping tears away, then,
Wait,
then
wait,
I would really have had an issue with that whole thing.
wait a minute, Wheeler. Now I'm going to a basketball perspective. Wow, we've gone all over from A to Z, and it's only 1 hour. You know what when you're talking about that, know what that reminds me of? The 19 in the 80s in the NBA. The no what, Coach Pettaway?
The no layup rule is in
no
effect.
layup, right?
The
Now,
no layup rule is in effect.
Compared to now, oh, it's soft. But during that time, and we saw it, even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who I think he's just meek and mild. Remember him and Bird went at it? It literally, it was a no layup rule.
Right.
And Moses Malone and some of the tough ones, it's a different time.
Carlos, that's when the game was the game.
Right.
That's when the game was the game.
And
the same
that's when you tell them you better bring your lunch bucket because we're gonna be here all day, bro. We're gonna be here all day. You better bring it.
That's right. Put your mouthpiece in, son. Button up your chin strap. That's right. Better tighten up your jock strap, son. We're bringing it today.
Oh yeah. And if you mic'd up even in the SWAC, the football games, just think of the things you would pick up in the game. A lot of it's not nice, but it's more like the mindset. But Travis on his podcast said, "Hey, he's cool with it, you know."
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, just some things to bring up. We've dipped into hour number 2, so I guess we'll take a break. No, that's all right. Well, we'll come back. We'll still look at the SWAC scoreboard for last week. This week, and by the way, Coach Pettaway,
we recovered already.
I'm gonna still stand by. I've been getting reports. Negotiating has picked up between the Miami Heat and Portland. You know what? Portland's trying to play hardball. Portland is just like that car. It's brand new. You drove it off the lot. It is depreciated. You're not going to get. Now, I understand you're trying to get the most. Sounds like an insurance company commercial. You know, you pay that premium or that monthly, and you never make a claim. The first time you make a claim, then they want to
jack it up. Yep.
Yeah, but that's another story for another time, Melody. Maybe Melody can pick that one up. But they're back negotiating, and I know there are non-believers, and I know that people like, well, Carlos, shut up about Damian Lillard. And by the way, my new game, NBA 2K24, comes in maybe at the door right now. I wonder if Damian Lillard would be on the game for the Miami Heat. We'll find out. But Coach Pettaway, quickly before we go to a break, I'm still confident it's going to go down. And I'm also even here, Miami is not going to give a premium package. The package before the premium. Portland's playing hardball.
Yep. I think so. That Dame is so valuable. They'll never get what they really want for him. So they might as well let him go because you don't want a disgruntled player to remain on your team now. Not saying that Dame would do that, but that's not good. If he wants out, they need to try to see if they can accommodate him.
We shall see. I know Charles is somewhere thinking it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen. But anyway, we appreciate everyone watching. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, SWAC scoreboard for last week, boy. Some teams really took it on the chin. Oh, yeah. And then Alabama A&M bounced back Thursday night.
Right. That's what I was telling you. We're back.
Yeah, with a big victory. So we'll talk about that schedule for today. Some big games. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum designed for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
You know, you like it when it's
the human jukebox,
the jazz version of the fight song. Unbelievable. You gotta love the digital human jukebox. Proud sponsor of the Coles Brown Show, the Blue and Gold Centric Club. You see, they took care of Coach Pettaway.
absolutely.
Man. Coach Pettaway.
Yes.
Well, I'll finish it, and then I want to see what was on that menu. I could just imagine what was on there.
Okay.
But a proud sponsor of the Coles Brown Show to join the club, and it's a great club. I have a personal history with the Blue and Gold Centric Club. You could call Craig Pierre at 225-324-7234. The Blue and Gold Centric Club, a proud sponsor of the Coles Brown Show. What was on that menu, that tailgate menu, Coach Pettaway?
Man, they had everything you could imagine, man. They had all kind of food. I stayed with the fish. I love seafood, so I stayed with the fish, and I got a hot dog. But they had all the different sides that you could want, man. They had plenty of non-alcoholic beverages there, plenty of water. You needed that water. It was so hot out there. But, my hat's off to the Blue and Gold Century Club for their purpose. I got a chance to sit and talk with those guys, and I found out something about the history of the Century Club and how they have helped the athletic department over the years. And so you need more HBCUs need that kind of support, because with them, they're looking to help the university, the athletic department and the university, and they don't look for anything in return. See, a lot of times when a person gives you 10, they expect eight back in change, that kind of thing. But with the Century Club, everything they do is geared towards Southern University, and that's a great thing. And I had an awesome time just sitting, chatting, talking to them, because I want ideas to bring back to Huntsville for our people. We got the Bulldog Club. I'm a member of the Bulldog Club, and that's our goal, is to help our athletic department, to help our university. But we need more in order for the HBCUs to survive. Our fans and alumni, we need to learn how to give back, because that's how the PWIs have gotten to where they are, because they're giving back and they're not really looking for anything in return except to help the programs grow. And that's what we need more of.
And I'm thinking now. I'm familiar with some with Alabama A&M. I remember seeing years ago with when they came to Southern with the red coats on. Okay. J State has the Bluebells. I think they have a and Alcorn 1867 club. You know what? It may be a mission for me to just talk, and I'm sure all of the schools have booster groups, support groups. Be a good idea to talk to each and every one of them,
Right.
and
And it
about
would, Carlos, because they
about
do
giving
a
back.
great job. Because see, here at Alabama A&M, we have the Bulldog Club, then you got the ACRG, then that's the group. They charter every away game. They're going. They're going. If the sun comes up, they're going. And they do a great job, and we need more of that. For those kids to go into Baton Rouge and then they see that maroon and white, that group is going to always show up for them. It really helps those kids, man. And our schools need to do more of that, man. We definitely need to do it. And now, since I'm retired, I'm enjoying it more. I even did some of it when I was still coaching. If I was the early games where I knew I wasn't going to have to miss practice, I get on the road and I follow. I follow all our sports. Carlos, when I coach, I don't care what team played on our campus. I made sure that those athletes saw me at their games, because I know they were coming to basketball games. And I just think that athletic departments that get involved with each other's teams, I think they last longer. I think it's a great atmosphere. That's what creates that family atmosphere. And so the kids in the other sports at Alabama A&M, they knew that Coach Pettaway was going to come see him. I was already voted the number one fan for bowling. I went to a lot of their matches, man, even on the road. Yep. So I just think support is support. We need to get out, support all of our teams, not just football and basketball.
And Willer, as the administrator, AD, I'm sure a lot of times you had to go speak to if it's one group or two, but that's part of being transparent and forming that communication and talking with those groups.
Oh, it's important. There's no doubt about that. You need to apprise them of the rules and regulations as it pertains from an NCAA point of view. They need to know the do's and don'ts, what they can and can't do as it pertains to our kids and things of that nature. And, it's just good to be able to, elbows with, all the constituents, from those different groups. Yeah, and I mean, it's not about, who gives what at that particular time, that sort of thing. When you're called upon to, address a particular entity, or a group such as that, alums, caring alums that, are doing their best to, give back to the institution. You're not going in there saying, you guys only gave $20 last week, you should have gave 50, or anything such as that. You're always appreciative and, thanking them, for what they've done, letting them know the status of what's going on in your department, letting them know that, you're striving to be here and, that you want their help, their continued help in terms of looking to attain the goals that we've set for ourselves. And, as long as they know that your door is open all the time and, things of that nature. Granted, you're going to have some boo birds in the crew that, going to want to be critical of, the job.
Right. Oh.
Willa, we can't hear you.
Yeah, look like
Pretty
we
much
froze
keep
out.
it moving,
Oh, there you
and
go.
you let it go from there.
Right.
But it's something that, as Coach Pettaway was saying, is sorely needed amongst all of our institutions. I've worked at 5 or 6 HBCUs now, and each HBCU that I've been at has had some groups of some form or fashion, that do those kinds of things, and it's a joy just to get to know those people and stop by the tailgate on football Saturday or what have you, and all the stuff that goes with that. But you can't put a price tag on that, Carlos. It's
Yeah.
invaluable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And now I do have a question, and I hate to be going back to Colorado, but this happened in the public. Willa, explain to me, how was Coach Sanders able to give sunglasses, to all the players on the team?
Now that's a good one. That's a
Because
good question too. That's a good question too. And I don't have an answer for you because I thought the same thing that you thought, Coach Pettaway.
Hey,
But I would probably venture to say that he had to have cleared that with compliance prior to. And so I don't know if they've gotten an exemption of some sort from the NCAA to be able to do so or what have you. There's certain waivers that can be filed and things of that nature. So I'm sure something like that probably happened. I wouldn't think that he just woke up that morning and had 100 pair of sunglasses shipped in and just started handing them out to everybody on the team, that sort of thing. So, hopefully he did clear that through, his upper level administration beforehand. But I'm of the same mindset as you, Coach Pettaway. I wondered that also. I was like, geez, how is this happening?
right.
This can't be happening.
See, Carlos, back in the day, Carlos, I knew I could not do that. And so I guess the rules have changed, because before I got in trouble for helping the kid getting his tooth pulled. So I mean, that's back when I first started coaching.
And it may be something about the monetary value or something like that, Coach Pettaway.
Yeah,
I'm almost certain it has something to do with the monetary value of the glasses in particular, that sort of thing. So,
Wow.
I'm sure there was some, I ain't gonna call it a loophole, Carlos, but
There's always a loophole.
A rabbit hole or something that somebody went in and researched and found out that it was okay to do so. But I had that same question.
I didn't even think about it. It shows me what y'all great minds, and see, I didn't even think about that, but now I will think about that, and then I'll come back before the show's over with. At least the coaches in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and I guess it was a response to what Colorado State's coach said. And see, you got to be careful. Here we go again. You got to be careful about that. In the press, going at each other, the SWAC coaches have from what I've seen, particular football media day. Those guys are joking around, kidding. Look, don't get me wrong. They like to compete and beat each other, but it's a certain class and professionalism that they put out there, and it's genuine and it's real. But I'll come back to that one because today, Colorado and Oregon, by the way, I could give my opinion about that game, but first real big test, we'll see.
But even the coach and the players, they gave shouts out to the SWAC now. Shador even said that he wasn't able to do what he did the other night against SWAC schools. He said that, and even Coach Prime has talked about how his kids, the Travis and Shador, have done better since they left the SWAC. They weren't able to get some of these things accomplished when they were in the SWAC because the defenses were geared I guess they were made up differently, so they prevented them from being as successful. And then he was just saying that, everybody's trying to downplay the SWAC. Shador was able to do some of the things against the SWAC that he's doing now. So he's letting you know that the level of competition in the SWAC is just as good as what they're playing against. And
I did hear him say that.
Yeah, I thought that was a great compliment. So they got to stop just bashing him because they're still putting the SWAC out there and letting people know how great the competition is in the SWAC.
Well, I know it's very competitive, and we can look from a historical standpoint. Players that have won in the NFL, not only win in the NFL, win in the other sports, but also been successful after their playing career has been, has come to an end. Because ultimately, that is not just a feel-good thing. Ultimately, that is just as successful than on the athletic playing field. But we'll come back to that. The SWAC scoreboard for September 16th last week. It was Delta State over Mississippi Valley State 35-7. And this is last Saturday. UAPB squeaked by Miles. Remember, we talked about Miles is a tough out. Grambling State over Florida Memorial 58-22. FAMU. And I watched the first half of that game. University of West Florida. They won by 21, but it wasn't as easy as the score indicates. It was Alcorn, like Southern, getting their first victory over McNeese. And, these type of games, the SWAC have struggled, but Alcorn now owns 2 victories against McNeese State. Southern Methodist, SMU, over Purview and them 69-0. Purview playing up. I guess that check was worth it. 69-0. Rice over Texas Southern. Andrew Body still banged up. But they lose in the city of Houston. They didn't have to travel. Wheeler, not for it all. That's kind of like LSU and Southern.
A good check.
At least it should be. I would like to know what they got. It was Texas State all over JSU. Maybe, and I got to be careful because, Jackson State fans are sensitive. Maybe not. They did score 34 points, but that was a vicious. The time I tuned into it, I want to say Texas State ran off it was kind of a close game. And a disastrous second quarter. I think they scored like 35 points.
They did 35 in there. But the good thing about this, though, Carlos, Jackson State scored in every quarter. They scored in all 4 quarters. They had 6 in the first quarter, 14 in the second quarter, 7 in the third, and 7 in the fourth. The big thing that hurt them was that second quarter where they gave up 35 points. And a lot of that had to do with special teams play too now. Yeah.
And but 34 points. That's good against we could consider them a group of 5.
Right.
But you know what made the news? They gave up 77 points.
Right.
And so, it made me think, last year's team, would they have fared better? Probably so, because I was a big fan of Coach Thurman. But it just shows, too, when you're playing up, these things could happen.
Right.
These things could happen. So,
and then, Carlos, also, you remember that, have you gotten to Miami and Bethune? Miami lost to Bethune 48-7 last Thursday. They started this year the week off.
Yeah, we did talk about that last week. And then Thursday night, Alabama A&M. Boy, it was tough. UAPB and Coach, though, and I guess I got to be careful again. Those Thursday night games, they're tough.
Yeah,
they are tough. And what was the attendance there?
Well, once again, the university put out they put out 5,317. But once again, for Alabama A&M, I didn't see 5,000 people there because
paid attendance, but actual
right, yeah,
attendance.
probably was paid, but on the parking lot, tailgate area,
Mm-hmm.
I only saw maybe 4 RVs out there. So the fans just didn't come out on a Thursday night. And I think anytime in the SWAC, we're not gonna get the large crowds on the Thursday night. That's just not happening.
Now,
And I think Thursday night is more so geared towards the television audience than anything else. You know,
probably so.
I think anybody that realistically goes into a mode of thinking that you're going to pull a giant crowd on Thursday night, you know, unless it's a rivalry game, and nobody would really want a rivalry game being played on Thursday night. You know, unless it's a rivalry game, you know, attendance is going to be sparse. The networks know that. What they're banking on is how many faces are on the TV screen. That's what they want, viewership. For them, it's all about viewership. So, you know, it's no crime if the crowd isn't what you want it to be. You know, I just hate that it's a short week trying to get prepared for a game, that sort of thing. And, you know, I hate that it takes away from a Saturday opportunity, you know, that it takes away from a normal Saturday type of environment that you would have on your particular campus. You know, as Coach Pettaway was saying, you know, the tailgaters are not going to be there. You know, the fried fish ain't going to be in the air and all that sort of thing and stuff. And, you know, so, I mean, you look forward to that, especially if you have a stadium on campus. You look forward to that Saturday football campus atmosphere.
Yep.
And anything that takes away from that, you know, it's just a downer pretty much all the way around. So, you know, I've always tried to get out of those Thursday games when at all possible. You know, sometimes the commissioner makes you, you know, take them, that sort of thing and stuff. But, you know, I've always been one of the last ones and tried to agree for a Thursday night game. It's just not conducive to college football, I think.
It's not conducive to your bottom line. You know,
that's true too.
Yeah, because I think in this case, this may have been where AD Brown, you've talked about where you might be paying more in expenses than you bring it in. This could have been one of those games like that. But then the other thing to that is when now ESPN, I will give them credit now. They tried their best to only do tight shots. And that was by design now. If you notice the game, they focus more on the field than they normally do during a Saturday game because they knew the people weren't in the stands, but you still had a couple of shots where it showed that the stands were empty on both sides. And see, that impacts recruiting. That's negative impact for recruiting. When the kids look out and see that, you know, nobody's in the stadium, they don't want to play in that environment, man. So you have to be careful with it. So picking up those Thursday games, yeah, you're on television, but the downside is it could impact you on your bottom line. It could also affect you in recruiting.
And also, when you look at it, for me, I still work. Okay, it's kind of tough. Like if you retired, you know, you probably can get out there. Students, I know some work, some may have, you know, evening classes or night classes, but the majority of them, I guess you say you have to bank on those two. Like people that have to work. Some people work and may not have, you know, a lot of vacation days. And if they do, they really need it for, say, if they don't have sick days. So Thursday night is just difficult for some.
Right. Yeah.
For some. And I guess you have to really push the students to come out if they can, and for those who, you know, can work. I mean, that don't work or retired, or, you know, let's say if you work an early shift, 6 to 2. Let's say if you have kids, you know, you may have to make arrangements. Can the father go pick the kids up? Do you have to get things done from when you get off from 2 to say the game 6 o'clock? So you got a 4-hour window, right? To try to do so things. So it's just kind of tough. So I don't want to bash some of the fans, but for those who can come, you kind of try to encourage them to come. And those who can't, as you said, the eyeballs watch it on television. So that's a good point.
Hey, Carlos, who are you looking forward to this week? I know you haven't got to this week's schedule. What matchup do you see that intrigues you? Because I know which one intrigues me.
Well, I'm gonna say the game of the week. It's actually, you could say two, but I'll narrow it down to one. Yeah, we got some people talking about Friday nights games.
You don't want to go against the high schools.
And then, I'm gonna put myself up there for the criticism. I remember mentioning Sunday nights. Oh man, people was like, "Are you crazy?" Yeah, you go to Tibet and become a monk, for Sunday nights. But but you got to go against the NFL. But it's just the NFL and no other college games. But to your question, Coach Pettaway, and then that'll give me the opportunity to give the week schedule for the SWAC schedule for 9/23, September 23rd. I'm going to have to say FAMU and Alabama State is huge.
Yep.
FAMU is hosting Alabama State. And then the other big one, Alcorn and Prairie View A&M.
Yes.
And it's the conference opener that counts for Alcorn State, those two. But the rest of the schedule is like this: Mississippi Valley State and North Carolina Central. In Indianapolis, Indiana, I kind of put in notation Capital City Classic ?
Circle City.
Circle City, yeah.
Circle City Classic.
Guess what? That's what I had.
Sorry.
No, you're right. That's what I had, Circle City. But I put Capital City Classic. Go figure. Go figure. Grambling State hosting Texas Southern in a big one, 2 p.m. on HBCU Go, 2 p.m. Boy, those daytime games at home for Grambling State.
Yep.
Not in South Baton Rouge. Not in South Louisiana, shall I say. They'll have an afternoon game, but that just don't fit, Coach. Just don't fit. Also, FAMU and Alabama State, 5 p.m. ESPN Plus. That's Eastern time. Alcorn State and Prairie View A&M, 6 p.m. And Jackson State, W.C. Gordon Classic. They're home opener. They've been on the road 4 weeks.
Wow.
And to say that they're 2-2, hey, you can't complain. That's on ESPN.
No, not at
Plus.
all. Not at all. Not at all.
And by the way, Daryl Asbury, will you return my phone call? I know you coach high school football in Baton Rouge. I'm lucky I'm not offended easily, but you don't return my call. Do you know who I am? Anyway, thanks for letting me vent for that. But those two games, FAMU and Alabama State, Alcorn State, and Prairie View A&M. A lot of people, including my colleagues, they coined the phrase the Wild Wild West. Is that because they don't feel that nobody has showed to be strong yet in the West? Or is it that everyone is competitive too? Or is it something else, as we would put other? When you have a multiple choice,
right?
Other. So this Alcorn State and Prairie View A&M, it goes a long way. Now, Alcorn State, as Charles likes to say all the time, they're similar to Southern University. Defensively, that's their strong point. Offensively, they have been inept. So Prairie View A&M can score, but they played up. And then they played out of conference the week before against Abilene Christian. They've been brought down to earth a bit. So this is a huge game, Wheeler and Coach Pettaway.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think will win this football game between Alcorn State and Prairie View A&M?
I'm gonna go first. Okay, I'm gonna go with Alcorn.
Go ahead, Coach.
I'm sorry. I will go with the Braves. I think it's tough playing down there. I think they'll be ready to play. I'm going with Alcorn.
I'm with Coach Pettaway. I got to go with Alcorn. Yeah. I think them getting that win last week was a plus right there, and I think they kind of found their footing a little bit, and playing it at home. I got to go with Alcorn. I think they're getting ready. I think they're getting ready to run for a minute or two.
Well, they can run the football. And I talked to some Alcorn Knights, and some of them want to replace the offensive coordinator already. Here we go. They say offensively, they're like your team, Carlos. They struggle to score. And if you look at the stats, they're at the bottom offensively. But what defense wins championships? I got to go to my old bag of cliches on this one. And I think Alcorn will make it a ugly ball game because their defense is going to make it that way. Basketball analogy, guys, Alcorn wants to make it a half-court physical game. Purvey wants to make it up-tempo, full-court, exciting slam dunks. But at the end of the day, I'm going to make it a unanimous decision. At home, tough defense. Alcorn makes it ugly. They get it done. And by the way, Charles did text me a couple of days ago. The second-string quarterback will get the start today. And by the way, you Alcorn fans are the same way. The second-string quarterback is the most popular.
But you know what? That's with us. Casey's our second-team quarterback. He didn't play well against you all, but he played better Thursday night. So the second-team QBs, that's what's happening in the SWAC right now.
And you know what, Carlos? I think there is a semi-fascination with Alabama State. I just don't think they're that good, really.
Let me make a note of that.
I think FAMU will probably have their way with them today, especially being in Bragg. On top of that, I
mean, they got a home streak.
FAMU
has a nice home streak.
I'm not referring to Coach Pettaway.
Yeah,
I just heard that out in the street committee, that sort of thing. You know, people kind of think that, Alabama State, finally getting the gist of it, that sort of thing and stuff. I just don't. I'm not one of those believers.
Same problem.
They haven't shown me yet.
Right.
And I think everybody was basing it off of that Jackson State victory. But I just think that the Alabama State historically has been a middle of the pack type of football program. And I really don't see that changing this year. Maybe they take a step or two, in the positive direction, that sort of thing. But to me, there's still that middle of the road type SWAC program.
Right.
I
don't think
watch it, Coach Pettaway, because you're Alabama and that's your rival.
Right. Yeah. They got their hands full going down to Tallahassee now.
Yes, they do. No doubt about it.
I think I predicted that FAM will win at home against Alabama State. I think they got a good thing going there. But back to the quarterbacks, when you look around the league, Texas Southern, until their boy gets back, they're relying on the second-string quarterback. We're doing the same thing. So Alcorn's doing the same thing. So those backup quarterbacks, they got to be ready. You got to always remember in athletics, you one play away from being on go. You one play away. So that's why you got to be ready. And you got to have, and as a coach, you got to have those backups ready. They got to have the confidence. They got to have the reps so that you don't miss a beat when they go in.
Well, back to FAMU, clear cut. The best team in the conference. It's not even close. It is not even close. Now, second, I think it's a clear cut. If I had a power ranking, top 5, FAMU 1, Jackson State 2, and then after that, you can put them all in the hat, basket, whatever, and then pick them out. The bottom ones, UAPB, no doubt. Mississippi Valley State, they've got a lot of work ahead of them. But as we look in the chat room, the SWAC East gets decided today. If FAMU beats Alabama State, punch their ticket to the SWAC championship game. And then in 2 weeks, they come to Baton Rouge. You don't think they're going to be fired up?
Yep.
And
that's gonna be a big game there now. Woo!
Yeah, and it will be nice for Southern if we get ahead of ourselves that that they meet energy with energy.
I'm going on the record. I'm going on the record 2 weeks in advance for Southern University upset.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm going on the record. I'm going on the record 2 weeks in advance, Carlos.
Wow.
So
wow.
Pencil me in or mark me down or whatever.
Yeah. If we were in Vegas, you're a bad guy. I'm not as confident as you. You don't see my mouth opening up. That's gonna be that's gonna be tough. But I do agree. Let's see. Carey says I win by FAMU today. Catapults them to the SWAC championship. So I think that's the consensus. Edwin says PV may have something to say about that, Carlos. Edwin, are you picking Prairie View with the upset? No, we shouldn't say the upset. Are you picking Prairie View to go into the reservation and get it done offensively? They're the better team. If we do the check marks, defense, I give it to Alcorn. Special teams, slight even. But that's going to be an interesting game. So, FAMU, Alabama State. You guys got FAMU, right?
FAMU.
Consensus. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, back to Alabama State. Charles Edmonds said they're an up-and-coming team. But Charles tends to say that 2 years in a row. We're waiting for them to come up. Now, Alabama State, defense, they're number one in the conference. But they have the same issue as several teams. Offensively, they are struggling. And I think to brag, offense has to be on par today. And they've got to get good quarterback play, can't turn it over. Give themselves, once again, they got to slow the game down, give themselves a chance to win. But I like FAMU to win. Valley and North Carolina Central, defending black champions, they will roll. They will roll. No doubt about it.
Oh,
consensus.
No doubt.
Consensus.
No
consensus. Doubt. Texas Southern and Grambling State. Grambling State's kind of putting their chest out, poking out a little bit. They're starting to seem to get very confident.
They beat a D2 squad, Carlos.
I'm not impressed.
How you gonna stick the chest out off of that now? Come on.
Well, that's Grambling fans. And see, I got to be careful because that's, quote-unquote, the number one rival of Southern. So you can't be objective, Carlos. But
I think Grambling will win that one.
Well, I would agree. Grambling State, and if Bonnie is not 100% or not playing, it's going to be tough in the hole. So Grambling State, is it a consensus, Will, Grambling State?
It's a consensus, but I'm not. I don't know.
You're not. What? Wait a minute.
I ain't sold on Grambling yet, but they should have enough. They should have enough in the tank to pull it out this week. Let me put it like that.
Well, I think with them, they're leading the SWAC in scoring at 33 a game. Texas Southern on averaging 14 points a game. So,
yeah, but 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I bet you a lot of those numbers inflated for last week. Florida Memorial.
Yeah, that's true.
A program that's trying to find themselves, but guess what? This is the same team that gave up 86 to Southern University. So those statistics, those metrics, they're bloated. I said it.
Yeah, I agree with Joseph. If Bodie's not ready, you got to go with the G-men.
And Jackson State, Bethune-Cookman, 6 p.m. Jackson State will win, but I wonder what kind of mood they're going to be in, after last week. They played up, throw that out. You got to check. But to still give up 77 points, I think they're going to be in a nasty mood, and I think they're going to try to take it out on Bethune-Cookman.
Right, and I
As they
agree.
should, as they should. But I think that Texas State film went into the trash on Sunday evening.
As it
Yep.
Right
should.
after the coaches looked at it, that sort of thing. I don't know that from a coaching point of view, I would have even showed it to the kids.
Right.
My coaching staff and I would have dissected it and gotten what we needed to get from it, and then that tape would be so far buried in the backyard somewhere that you need an excavator in order to dig it up and get it out. And just go on and put it behind you and keep it moving.
Yeah, and by the way, happy birthday to TC Taylor. See, you're getting love from a Southern alum. TC Taylor, don't believe what you hear that I'm anti-Jackson State.
Is
No.
his birthday today?
No, it was this week.
Oh, okay, I have to say. Because I was going to say, if it was today, it's over with.
Well, in the chat room, they're saying Jackson State wins big. I just think they're gonna be in a nasty mood at home. JSU rocks the house, all of that good stuff. It's gonna be rolling. One of my favorite places to play. And by the way, thanks, Wheeler. When you're the AD, I was looking for a place to cut that long walk. I got it right on the golf cart. I felt good. Beating all the Southern fans. And that's one game I sit in the crowd. I don't sit in the press box, home or away, because you got to feel the ambience. You got to feel the crowd. You got to get thrown water on or beer or something by Jackson State fans. You're going back and forth. But then at the end of the day, you do this. See you next year. More trash talking the next year. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way. I don't think there's any way that Bethune can go in there and do anything with them. I think that first, being at home, that atmosphere, because the game day atmosphere around the SWAC is pretty good in some places. I like Southern. Alcorn has a great atmosphere out there, man. Jackson State, even now I've only been to Grambling once, and the year that I went down there with our team, that was a great time down there in the valley. In the hole where that stadium is, but it's just great atmospheres around the SWAC, man, on game day, and that's why we need to keep them all on Saturday, because Saturdays when the people come out, that's when they really show their support. Because on Thursday, a lot of these people trying to work, trying to get it in, and I just look forward to football Saturday.
And I think with Bethune-Cookman, and it's going to be tough because Jackson State defensive line, what I saw personally, they're still pretty doggone good. But in a perfect world, Bethune-Cookman, when they get the ball the first time, they have one of these 12 plays. I know. 80-yard drives and eat up 5 or 6 to keep the ball from their offense, and they got to really shorten the game. Will it work? No, I don't think so. But that opening drive, when they get the ball, that would be ideal. That would be ideal. But that is the schedule for September 23rd. We got about 6 minutes left, and once again, I appreciate you guys. Very, very intriguing dialogue. And James Frank,
you sent a shout out to one of the soccer team. Was that the soccer team?
Yeah, Southern women's soccer team defeated Nickel State. Will, I look at those state games, no matter what sport. When you get a victory, I look at it with a critical eye. Critical eye. So props up. Props up to Southern University women's soccer.
And soccer's a new program for you guys, right?
Well, it's not new.
It's been there for a while. Okay.
But yeah, but you gotta give credit with
anytime you get an in-state win, it's good. There's no doubt about that. Anytime you can do that, it's a plus.
Yeah, and then you're recruiting against those state schools.
Yes, you are.
even from
especially in those sports. Yeah.
right, even with football games. So when you beat a McNeese, Nickel State's on the schedule. A series with Northwestern State. I know some Southern fans could care less about those teams because, quote unquote, they don't bring the traveling crowd. But guess what? I don't want any of them in there. I want them all packed with blue and gold. That's just me. But big shout out to Southern Women Soccer. James Frank. First, African American? I have my notes. Let me pull it up. But they're going to announce additional details regarding the building namer. Wait a minute. Did I get that wrong? Southern Soccer beat Mississippi Valley State last night 1-0. Well, let me say this. They did have a victory over Nicholls State.
Right.
But that's the one I want to focus on because, I take a win either way. But Nicholls State, that's just to add a little special victory on those type of games, if you get my drift.
Right.
But James Frank, I met him.
Yep.
But the SWAC is doing additional details regarding the building naming ceremony. I guess during the Magic City Classic, they're gonna have refreshments. They're gonna have members from the Frank family. He did a tremendous thing for the conference, and it was one of the things. He was the first African American, and let me pull it up as Coach Pettaway and Wheeler. Did you meet James Frank and
Yes.
and share
Yes,
share something about him?
Well, I did. When we first got in the SWAC, I had an opportunity to meet him. Well, actually, I met him before we even got in the SWAC. But definitely when we got in the SWAC, I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to him. I think he was at one of the SWAC. He was at one of the. He came to one of our spring meetings, and I got a chance to talk with him. But he's a great man, and he did a lot for the SWAC in terms of when he was the commissioner. And I just think that it's great what Commissioner McClellan and them are doing, naming the headquarters after the building after him. I think he paid his dues, and I know you know more about that, Mr. Brown.
It's always good to reach back and honor those guys that have done so much and meant so much to the conference, and that's a huge honor right there. And I hope a lot of people show up and show out for that event. As Coach Pettaway said, he's a man that's very deserving, has done a lot for the conference, and it's good that they're honoring him in that way.
And then to do it on the week of the Magic City Classic, you're guaranteed to have a crowd because you know that for the Classic week, that's a whole week of events. So that means that there will be some built-in people that's already in the city. So we got plenty of people that should be able to go and attend that.
Yeah, I was able to pick it up. Yeah, it will take place during the week of the 82nd Annual Magic City Classic on Thursday, October 26th from 3 to 4 p.m. The naming ceremony will feature remarks from the family of Dr. Frank, select local and league dignitaries, along with the SWAC commissioner. I have to give him his props there, Dr. Charles McClellan. Food and refreshments will be served at the ceremony, which will honor Dr. Frank's many notable accomplishments, including him serving as and this is what I wanted to put out, the first African-American president of the National Collegiate Athletic Association, the NCAA. Also, another note that I put down, the Outdoor Track and Field Championships. It's coming to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So that will be outstanding. Yeah, and I've got it posted on my Facebook page about the different championships that they're going to have during 2024. So you can go and look at that. Next week, we'll start the Jaguar Nation question. You send a question, the Carlos Brown Show at gmail.com, or also in the chat room, and then we'll get an answer for you on that. Closing comments, Coach Pettaway and Wheeler.
Well, I look forward to this week in the SWAC football. I look forward to this week in all the SWAC sports. You got soccer and volleyball going on. And I don't have to say go Bulldogs today because we've already done ours.
1-1 in the conference. Go ahead there.
Well, it's always great to be amongst you guys and, to be able to sit in and just converse. And, as I've always stated, it's always good to try to get great information out there to your fans, Carlos, and, to the people in the chat room, that sort of thing. It's good for them to hear, different points of view and different sides of things. And, hopefully not sway anybody, but give people a cause to pause. I like to say, to think about some things, and and moving forward. Hopefully, we can keep this dialogue going, and let's keep it up.
I gotta wrap this up. I'm gonna call you, Pat. I'm gonna call you, Pat. I'm gonna call you. You got some potential breaking news? Okay.
Okay.
Want to thank Melody, the producer. Everybody, continue the conversation until next Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time for the Carlos Brown Show.
Peace. This for you, Charles. This for
and
you, Charles.
God bless. All right, Pat, I'm coming. Oh.